But there is this meeting they've called that's going to be sort of a source described as the Squid Games for generals. He's ordering hundreds of his top officers to come to a mysterious meeting on Tuesday in Virginia. No one, not even the generals, know what it's about. They're being summoned from all over the world. It's expected to take place at the military installation in Quantico.
You act like this is a bad thing. Isn't it nice that people are coming from all over the world to be with us?
It's not particularly unusual that generals who report to the Secretary of War and then to the President of the United States are coming to speak with the Secretary of War. It's actually not unusual at all, and I think it's odd that you guys have made it into such a big story.
As a former spokesperson for defense, if someone asked you, this seems like something, would you say not really a story?
I wouldn't. I'd probably also get laced for saying something like that to the press. Look, this meeting that Hegseth has called is incredibly unusual. He's summoning basically 800 general and flag officers, from all over the world, from their combatant commands to the services, to come into Quantico with their staff too. So you're looking at upwards of 1,000 people coming in for a meeting that no one knows what it's about. And
also, don't they have stuff to do? I hate to be a goose, but it feels like we're pulling them from actual work, security work.
The priority theater of the Indo-Pacific. We're pulling, Admiral Paparo, who is, even if this administration doesn't think that China is a threat, there are many people in Congress and in the United States that do feel that China is certainly our challenge. And so to pull not only the admiral who oversees that combatant command, but his deputy commander as well, along with other members of his staff, to come to the United States, I mean, that sends an incredible message to our allies that we, do not have the person in charge there. But on the other hand, too, who is going to be in charge of these combatant commands all around the world that are facing tremendous challenges?
And then there's the conversation, I think we can say confidently, Hegseth is fundamentally reshaping the top brass of the military. It's something he's always wanted to do. Back in May, cut 20% of four-star generals. He also fired the Navy's top officer, Admiral Franchetti, fired the Air Force's second-ranking officer, and fired the military's top lawyers, who, of course, enforce accountability, court-martials, engagement in war. I want to play for you guys something that Hegseth said when he was nominated to be Defense Secretary.
You have made statements to your platoon after being briefed by a JAG officer. Well, by the way, would you explain what a JAG off is?
It would be a JAG officer who puts his or her own priorities in front of the warfighters. Their promotions, their medals, in front of having the backs of those who are making the tough calls on the front lines.
Can we talk about sort of his position on this? Because obviously critics are like, you're getting rid of checks and balances.
Well, sure. I mean, I think that personnel is policy, as we all know in Washington, D.C., and Pete Hegseth wants to make sure that those generals are aligned. I don't have any insights into what the meeting what will happen on Tuesday, but I am fairly confident that based on the messages that Pete Hegseth has sent since taking the job, he wants to make sure that the people that report to him are fully aware of what his expectations are of them. And if he's frustrated with JAG officers or he's frustrated with general officers,
officers that have served upwards of 30 years in the military under different presidents, both Democratic and Republican. They've led in different fights in Iraq and Afghanistan. These are people who serve their country. They don't serve at the pleasure of one person. And I think what Pete Hegseth is doing, and Donald Trump, is these loyalty tests. And so who knows what next week's meeting really brings, but it certainly puts the military in a political position where we never should be in that position. Our military is supposed to be apolitical. And so Hegseth's comments, whether it was, testifying in front of Congress to what he's doing next week, it's hollowing out our military ranks. And frankly, you're purging people that have not only decades of service, but strength and wisdom that they bring to the table that frankly he doesn't have. I mean,
but
he's really out of his depth.
They're questioning that wisdom, right? They're saying like your priorities have been wrong the last couple of years, the way, especially the fallout from Afghanistan, right? Some of this is a response to that.
Yeah, like we're not winning wars the way we used to, and if we're not winning wars the way we used to, something must have gone wrong here. Look, I think Hegseth is a true believer. I think he really believes what he's saying. I think he's a bit sloppy, maybe very sloppy, and I think he loves drama. And I think this meeting is Pete Hegseth loving drama. Like, I got text yesterday after this news broke, and it was like, are we going to war? Are we going to war? Like, Some of this stuff, I don't think your normie American cares about James Comey, but your normie American hears like all the generals are coming to D.C. and it's like, what is happening? Is a war starting? It's panic. And I don't know why we would want the Secretary of Defense to panic the American people.
Maybe he's going to listen to them and hear what's on their minds. I mean, to Sabrina's point, I mean, I am deeply concerned about the threat that China poses to our country, and I hope that maybe he gathers some intelligence from those who are in the field in these different theaters.
The normal way that you do this, and I hate to say normal because obviously we're not in normal times, but you know, as a longtime foreign correspondent who has covered the military extensively, the way that this normally happens is that the Secretary of Defense will go to the theater and actually be on the ground and see what is happening so that they can inform themselves, and their generals and their top brass can then you know, have a conversation in the place where things are happening so that it is going two ways. It is not just a one-way.
So you don't think it's going to be a listening session for Hegseth?
No, I don't think it's going to be a listening session for Hegseth. And I think more than that, you know, our military and is something that has just enormous value to every single American. If you poll Americans, they hate the media, they hate the Supreme Court, they hate Congress. But they really love the military. They really feel that the military is something sacred in this country, and they understand that service, that is the highest service that you can perform because you are risking your life to defend this nation. And so, mess with it at your peril.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you won't be able to report on it, obviously, because they're having all the reporters sign a pledge saying they won't do unauthorized or authorized
I don't think people are going to sign that pledge.
Well, we're going to find out next week during this meeting. Sabrina, thanks for being here.